Good day, my friends, and welcome to Living Through My Inner Light. I'm your host, Jeffrey Saunders, also known as the Canadian Healing Medium. So I'm very excited today, as it is my second episode, and I have Andy Grant come on today. And what my show is about is having people come on, being open and honest, sharing about their transformational experiences throughout life, spiritual experiences or anything where it connects to them to help them raise them up on their higher path of life, to find their purpose, to live through their purpose. And this is the people that I am bringing on today, the beautiful people. And I just want to welcome Andy Grant, and thank you, Andy, for hopping on today.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, so me and Andy actually met just over a year ago. He had me on his podcast show, Real Men Feel, and we'll get into that in a bit. And then, of course, I started my new one, Unity, through past traumas. And, it really helped me to thrive in my life, to be here and giving back in this new show that I am doing today and giving back. And, we built that bond because our life path experiences of the traumas and things that we live through really aligned with one another, and how we both have grown from it, and we're both giving back today, and we built this beautiful relationship with one another. So Andy, if you would like to share about who you are, where you live, what you're doing in your life today, just to give a bio about yourself.
Sure. So I am currently in Littleton, Massachusetts, born and raised here in Massachusetts in the United States. And I work for 10 years, I've been working as a coach. I'm also an author and a speaker, an Akashic record reader. I'm a certified healer and ritual master with the Modern Mystery School. I've gone from being depressed and suicidal to really realizing that I am more than this meat suit, and that I am embracing, all the woo that there is to woo about, and doing things on a daily basis that I used to make fun of and thought was ridiculous. And now it's things that I rely on to keep myself happy and grounded and centered. And it's all things that I use with clients on a daily basis. And you mentioned Real Men Feel. I've been doing a podcast called Real Men Feel for over 5 years now. And it's inviting men to come out of the emotional closet, to remind men that they are human beings and that emotions actually do serve us. They're not meant to be denied and stuffed. And because all of that energy will be felt, it'll be experienced in distorted ways if we don't allow ourselves to feel what is showing up in any given moment.
Yes. And that's all, we had to go through a lot of transformational experiences in our life to be where we're at today, and giving back in the beautiful ways that we're giving back. And, with some of those challenges, when we look back at our lives, there are 5 experiences we're going to go through today. And then he's actually going to do an Akashic record reading with me at the end, so you guys have an understanding of what they are gifted to do into healing and giving information back to help you on your life path with where he's at today, on top of doing the podcast and connecting to help inspire men to start connecting with who they truly are, to end the suffering, that me and him have lived through together in our past. Where, thank God, we don't live through that no more, but we are grateful. I speak for myself, and I believe you would feel the same way. We are grateful for where we are today because we've done the healing work, and we can give back not just to men, but to women as well, on the knowledge and wisdom that we have gained as men, to not suffer in the ways that we did. So there is a trigger warning here for this first part, just in case, if anyone has had people who have passed away, from attempting suicide and then it following through or whatnot. So I just want to, let people know before we share about past suicide attempts and what the transformation was for him to overcome that in living on his higher path as he is giving back today. So if you just want to share about the transformation that happened for you to overcome those challenges in the past.
Sure. So from a very young age, I was depressed and had suicidal thoughts, and nobody else talked about that. So I really thought I was the only person like that, which made me think it was even extra wrong and broken of me. But my parents were high school sweethearts. My mom got pregnant when they were in college, so I was not planned. There was talk of abortion, talk of adoption. So when I've done like past work as an adult, it almost feels like I was disappointed and depressed from birth, And then I came into this kind of toxic stew of like, I thought I'd be wanted. What's going on here? This is, I'm into this stressful household, and my dad was working 2 full-time jobs and trying to go to college. My mom had to drop out because being pregnant in school was just not something that was, looked upon very positively at that time. And my parents did not last long. There was a lot of stress. My dad was an alcoholic. He was diagnosed with bipolar. He tells me that some of my earliest experiences as a toddler were in a waiting room while he got shock therapy. So I really had this burned in notion of, well, there's my dad. He's emotional. He's crying. Oh, and he's brought to this place where they torture him. That was one of the beginning foundations of what I thought a man is meant to be. My parents broke up in a contentious divorce. They battled over me. They were police and lawyers at the door often when I was 5 years old. At about that same time, a neighbor began molesting me. And people noticed that I changed. My mood changed. I became much more introverted and quiet. And I thought it was due to the divorce. So nobody really dug deeper. And even if they had tried, I probably would have just stayed quiet because I feared that if I told anyone what was going on, I'd be the next man kicked out of my house. It was just me and my mom. My dad was gone. So I like, all right, I've got to be a good boy. I've got to have somewhere to live. Like my life depends on it.
Yeah.
But from a really young age, all these things come to be, and all the circumstances pile up. And I had a worldview that I wasn't safe. I couldn't trust adults, and I couldn't trust men. And I was also smart and heavy. So in school, there's a lot of bullying. It wasn't good to be smart. I'd get in trouble, and I threw off the bell curve, and me getting an A would ruin other people's plans for making their D into a C or whatever it might be. And I was quiet. I was sensitive. I was emotional. I thought all those things were wrong. I saw them all as weaknesses. My dad would often tell me that high school was the best years of your life. So I thought, well, why go beyond that? All right, I'll commit, I'll live till I'm 18 and then I'll be done. I'll check out then. Like, why would anyone want to live through decades of not the best part of your life? So all the steps were in place. And I thought I would, have my joyous high school years and then be done. But it didn't even last that long. My first attempt to end my life was at age 12. I can still remember having suicidal thoughts at like 7 or 8. And I just had this knowing, and it's, kids would get together. How would you not want to die? And I never play that game because I just know, I just knew I would die by my own hands some way.
Yeah.
It was really this early decision. And so again, the attempts happened. They kept increasing. I kept doing this pattern. And it was really almost like I became addicted to the suicidal thoughts. I was addicted to that pattern. When things got tough, I would resort to, all right, I'm taking my ball and going home. Like I was a quitter. And anytime I lived through something, I thought that was more weakness. It was only years later that I realized it was my will to live. It was my life force that was saying, no, don't go through with that. Don't do those things. Yeah. And, for years, I only counted 5 suicide attempts. I only counted the ones that landed me in a hospital. That doesn't count the dozens of times I tried something. I didn't harm myself enough to get noticed, to get attention, to need help. With that wider outlook, if I did something with the intention of harming myself, dozens, perhaps hundreds of attempts in my teens and into my 20s.
Yeah.
It was after one particular attempt, I believe it was my 5th or 6th attempt, and it was doing something that had already not worked. And I intentionally used failed suicide attempts because that's how I felt. I felt like a failure. I can't even do this right. And I went back into my house. It was something I was doing in my car, and I went back into my house and just felt like such a failure. I think I'm 19 years old at this point, and I'm having that dark night of the soul moment. And I was not raised with any sort of religion. I was not spiritual at all. I was realizing that I'm not good at living. I'm obviously not good at dying. There's got to be a better way. Why am I being tortured like this? Why can't I navigate my life or death in some way that brings relief? And I really was begging and praying to God. And I finally had this like light bulb moment, or just the glimmer of hope, of the possibility of a light bulb moment, that there is a better way. And what if you're living all through this so that you can share it, so that you keep doing this until you realize you can make another choice. And that was the beginning of taking responsibility. Until then, I was a victim. Like everything happened to me. I had no power. I had no control. And that slowly began to change. And people had offered me help, and I used, no, no, no. I rejected. I played along. I thought I was too hopeless, helpless, and broken to be helped. But after so many, being bad at trying to die, I finally came to the realization that, all right, I am supposed to be alive, and if I take responsibility, I can actually live a happier life. I can be glad to be here.
Yeah. And you had that aha moment, and then you started making changes in your life moving forward in a more positive light for your life.
Yeah. Yep. But it all came from that response, that choice. Like as a kid, I was told that all these things were happening to me. It was my brain chemistry. And every time I ended up at a hospital, they gave me a different diagnosis, and none of them resonated. And no one ever said why I went public as an adult about all my attempts. As a kid, I never was introduced to anybody that they were suicidal. Like I really believed I was better off dead. And then years later, I'm glad that never worked.
Yeah.
And that story was not something I'd seen in public or anyone talking about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And back then, this is in the 70s and 80s, the only other place that anyone talked about feeling suicidal was in mental hospitals. So it just seemed, having that thought just seemed even crazier. Like I'm not like anybody else. I'm just so abnormal.
Yeah. But really, people don't talk about it because they're too afraid of what others may think of them.
Right. Yeah.
There's so many people that have depressive thoughts and feelings or suicidal thoughts. They might not have reached that depth that you and I have, but people think of suicidal thoughts all the time when we go through struggles and we don't know how to handle it, right? We're living in that lower frequency of energy, and we don't like how it feels. It's a horrible feeling to feel, and we feel so trapped in that moment. And but there is light, and that is why we are here sharing and giving back with what we are doing today. We can overcome it because me and Andy have overcome it, and we're speaking back. So for you, that was your first transformational experience on shifting you throughout those years, shifting you to your higher plane of existence within, per se.
Yeah.
And then, as we move on, he had, I can't wait to hear about this. Your meditation retreat. So this was another huge awakening for you on the experiences you went through for a week-long experience to really awaken you. And I live meditation as well, so I understand, we speak the same lingo here. So if you want to share on your experience, on your thought process going into it, your experience going into it, and then how your life transformed from that moving forward into your life.
This was the first personal growth event I went to at all. I had just finally really been meditating for maybe 6 months. I was someone, I believed I couldn't. I thought meditation meant sitting on a mountaintop and saying Om for an hour. So if I've ever thought, I'm like, oh, I obviously can't do this. I'm not good at it. Anyway, I discovered Holosync, which were CDs by a company called Centerpoint. And you just listen to them, and it made your brain resonate with meditative frequencies. And I liked it. And I almost liked it too much. When I discovered it, I would sometimes meditate for up to 6 hours a day. Like it just became yet another distraction, a way to me avoid everything. Like, oh, I'll just be spiritual and, float away and not worry about anything. And, we are spiritual and physical. There's work to do.
Yeah.
So I discovered that Centerpoint was doing their week-long retreat. It's been annual, and they said this would be the last time it was done. And I said, and it was first, I was really, these were all new experiences. I felt called to be there. It was important. And like, all right, I'm doing it. And I went, it was alone. So it was 7 full days meditating with Holosync every day at higher frequencies, different depths. I was one of, there were people there that had been using it for decades. And I was just like 6 months into this. And one night we did holotropic breath work. They called it circular breathing. And I never heard of it. I was like, great, I'll try whatever's happening. But it was this deep process of really deep breathing without a pause. So the physiology is that we are over oxygenating our body, our bloodstream, and mystical experiences can ensue. And I was teamed up with a couple people that had done it before, and you have people that watch over you, and then you shift. But they're like, you're laying on this huge ballroom floor in a retreat center. The lights are off, and they're just cranking like tribal ethnic music, nothing with English words, and it all takes you on a journey as you just keep breathing. And I was warned beforehand. The woman sitting with me said it can sound kind of like an insane asylum at first. I'm like, oh. And I'm just breathing. I'm just focusing on my own breath. And I hear someone start crying. And I hear someone else start laughing. And I'm like, wow, it does sound like insane asylum. And then and then I got really sick, like, oh, because I know how they sound. And then I was gone. And for over an hour, I was just having this mystical ride. I was out of my body, soaring through everything. And I would feel, this is life. This is amazing. It was like I could smell colors and taste, wallpaper. It was just like, it was all just extrasensory experiences beyond anything I'd experienced. Such joyousness. And then I remember that I tried to throw this away, and I would like crash, and I would be sobbing, just sobbing, like there's mucus out of my nose and tears flowing, and still but breathing and being here. And I was escalating from tremendous joys and exuberance and the joy of life down into, I tried to throw this away. And I realized that I had survived attempted murder multiple times. Yeah. This was the first time I began to mourn my own near-death experiences. And the music finally stops, and I'm just feeling so joyous. I don't want to open my eyes. I'm making people shake me awake because I don't want this experience to end. And I was the last person in this room. It had been almost 90 minutes since we started. And I went to my room and I sent love letters and flowers to my mom, to my dad, and to myself. I was just up all night journaling, and it was the first night of healing, right? I began to take everything at face value, realized, I had this sense of life that I had never had before. And it was just so beautiful, and it stuck with me. And I was on this like hair trigger of a song would make me cry for like still a week. But when I flew home, I was like, I pray for the poor guy stuck next to me on a flight home, because I'm just bawling like hey, how you doing, Andy? And I'd break down in tears from feeling like I was so open-hearted. My soul was just cracked open. Yeah. And that was something that just really accelerated me, and was this marvelous, almost hallucinatory experience of what it really is to really be alive.
Yeah. And being present, feeling that presence, especially if we're a person who struggles within our mind all the time. If we're stuck in our mind, I've had severe ADHD. So when people are like, well, I don't know if I can meditate. Well, I'm like, I'm used to thinking nonstop all my life. Right. And then we find this beautiful place that lives within us to just be present in the moment without any thought. And it's the most beautiful experience, that we can live through our inner being light's consciousness, or soul's consciousness, whatever name we choose to give it. But that being present in the moment, feeling and escaping the mind's chatter, how has that been for you in your life with learning meditation, learning just being present in the moment? By learning meditation, like how has that been for you?
So I remember when I first started using Holosync, and one of the first things I noticed from meditation was I worked in a high-tech job, and I would get emails from people, and I was like I would be infuriated by emails. Why are these stupid people asking me questions? I would be enraged, and I'd be like, it's scribbles on a screen. Why am I having a reaction to this? And after a month of meditation, I realized that was gone. And I was like, wait a minute. How come I'm not upset? What's happening? So my reactivity is really what I first noticed, is just dropping down to nothing. So that was like, oh, this meditation, this is onto something. And, one thing that especially for new meditators, I find that meditation isn't sitting there with empty thought. Well, it's called a practice. Meditation practice is having a thought and choosing not to follow it. Right. That's the big thing. So if I'm having thoughts, I don't think, oh, I'm doing this wrong, which is what I used to. I'm like, oh, yep, there's that thought. All right. I don't care right now. And then just silence, back to silence. And so it's letting things go in my mind. But yeah, much, much more present, a much higher sense of knowingness, a much deeper sense of trust in myself. Again, like I get called to things often, and where it used to take, maybe years of being called to something before I would listen to it. Now I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. Okay, let's do that. Right. It becomes that much simple and automatic, and again, living less reactively to stimuli.
Yeah, definitely not being our thoughts anymore, but being the observer. That's the beautiful thing. We're observing the thoughts. We're not being the thoughts. Right.
Because like in the younger days, I didn't think I had depression. I didn't think I had suicidal thoughts. I thought I was depression. Like I thought I am suicidal thoughts, and they keep coming back because I'm supposed to do something about them.
Yes. And then before we hop on to the next one here, so Madeline says hello. Just want to say hello. A few people have hopped on here. Unfortunately for the, I don't know. I haven't figured out how to get people to have their names pop up now, but okay. Yeah, I got it working. I had a beginning there thinking it was like Zoom. Embrace the woo. Yes. I love it. Yes, the woo woo. And then another person had wrote amazing story. So thank you for those who have hopped on, and thank you, you guys, if you have any questions or anything or any thoughts, please throw them out there as we move through the next few experiences that he has had. And then the next one that we're going to jump into is the energy that he felt come through him, moving through him, and I'll let him explain on who he thought he was for a moment there with the light that was moving through him. And this is energy that I work with on a daily basis in my life today. So to connect with someone else who goes through these experiences, I'm very honored and grateful for you to share on that happened for you for that experience, and then how you use it if you still use it throughout your life today.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yep. So until this time, meditations that were just quiet. This experience that we're going to talk about was my first experience with energy work, conscious energy work. So I was on the internet call with thousands of people with a gentleman named David Morelli. He used to have a podcast called Everything is Energy. And some newsletter was on, introduced me. You got to check this guy out. So we're being led, and he says, we're going to do a guided meditation. And we did, but it was unlike any meditation I'd ever done. It was much more guided. It was connecting to light and having source, having gold pour into my body. And I'm like, I feel what is going on. And it reminded me of the holotropic experience. I'm feeling this life force again for the first time. My spine is tingling, and I felt like energy was just shooting out of my hands. And I felt like Iron Man, like I'm just laser blasting everything, and I'm flying this. Like, what is this? I remember thinking, like, I have no idea what's happening, but I've got to learn how to do this. Yeah. And I followed David for 2 more years until he had a program where he taught people to channel this, to walk through it. And so that was in 2010. I did this year-long training to become an energy coach. And the first 6 months was clearing myself, because I discovered that I was a really empathic kid. All the times that I was sad and depressed and crying, it wasn't always my stuff. Like I was this, I had no barriers. I was just this energetic sponge, and energy is contagious. And the strongest energy would find its way to be expressed through me. And often it was the energy that people didn't want to express. So it was shame and guilt and sadness and depression. And I was just this magnet for it. But again, I learned the tools, and I use these daily still. I walk through these techniques. That's how I clean myself. That's how I get grounded and stay present, by inviting this light, inviting the light that's in me to connect with the light that is everywhere.
Yes.
But yeah, it's magical, but it's better than, it's natural. It's natural magical.
Yeah. And that's what I love. Some people, we go outward to try to find this feeling within. And like with your experiences, I know, with the different drugs I've experienced in the past, I've had different experiences just within my inner being. It wasn't that I was trying to go through those experiences, but I was suppressed within myself. But then these experiences would come forth through that. And, even when we get into it, because the next one is that drink that you drank, I think is native drink, or the ayahuasca.
Yep, ayahuasca. It comes, it's from South America.
Yeah.
Used by cultures all throughout Brazil and Peru and Ecuador. And
yeah. So knowing now, we have a connection that is drug-free, that gives this beautiful experience of the pureness of light, of what we are all made of, what everything is made of, that can stream through us and heal us, and in return heal those, if those come to us that choose to want to connect. And it is, I work with this energy every day, and I love it. And that's the thing. I don't need drugs anymore. I don't need to put things in my body anymore, right? That feeling I'm trying to get outward has always been within. And then learning this beautiful process. And that's beautiful that David, what was his name? David
Morelli.
That's so beautiful. I never met anyone who was teaching it publicly in the way before. So that I will definitely be looking him up. And that's absolutely beautiful. So when we move on, sharing about your ayahuasca.
Yep.
Ayahuasca. Okay, I practiced it a few times before. So Andy actually went through an experience. He went through a ceremony with a group of people to go through this very beautiful experience to connect. I haven't heard from you yet, but connecting, I would think, to our higher self, going through experiences in that way. And if you want to share on what your thought was before entering it, what actually happened through that beautiful experience, and then how your life has changed after from that awakening.
So I ended up doing holotropic breathwork a number of times. I think I've done it 10 times. And at one of those, I met someone that led ayahuasca ceremonies. And I have heard of it because I had taken a vacation to the Amazon in Peru a few years earlier. And we had a guide, and we went to a local shaman, and he handed me a bottle of ayahuasca. And that was the first time I had heard of it. And they were telling me about it. I'm like, can I try this? They're like, no. I've gotten so much in trouble. No, tourists can't do this. And so my guide had done it. And they were like, oh, it's horrible. Oh, it's gross. And they're like, at age 13, he was forced to have ayahuasca and go do a ceremony in the jungle. And he was like, oh, and because they're made to, he didn't like it. Yeah. But come back home, and I've had enough experiences with energy and spirituality that I'm like, I love new experiences. I love discover that I was wrong with my life sucks, then you die worldview. So going to do the ayahuasca ceremony. We went out deep into the high woods of New York State, and we're just laying on the floor in this house. The furniture's all gone. There's maybe 6 of us, and the shaman leading it. And when I read about it, like a lot of people throw up. You take it, it tastes like, Satan's ass. It's just this horrible taste that a lot of people just throw up immediately. But we were given a really strict diet. And I really didn't want to throw up. I wanted to have the experience. So I followed this no sugar, no salt, this really just bland diet. So we're taking we're drinking our drinks, and I was the only person who didn't get sick. And we lay down, and the shaman just playing some drums. It's really just peaceful and neat. And I start kind of like noticing tingles and little shadows. And I'm like, oh, is this it? And the shaman says, if anyone feels called to having another dose, let me know. And I'm like, yeah. So I got up, and they told me later that, she gave me a full second dose. Yeah. So I'm gone, just gone. And what I love about it, and people that are kind of working with spirituality get this, I've often heard the phrase, we are multidimensional beings. My ayahuasca experience, I was aware of being on over a dozen dimensions at the same time. Yeah. So I knew I'm laying flat on this floor, and my higher self is aware, and I feel the vines of Mother Earth coming into me and traveling through me, and I'm connected to the earth, and I have the history of the earth. I'm aware of that. And I was in this like Technicolor avatar world, and it just kept building and building and building. And there were pets in the house, and a cat and a dog would kind of walk by me. Whenever they did, I would have I was in the Hall of Fame of all my pets that I've ever owned in my life. And they were all around me. And it was just amazing and sensory. Other people started kind of coming to and sharing what was going on at like 3 a.m, and I'm just still dosed. I'm laughing and I'm giggling, and I tried it. They're like, is Andy okay? And I'm like, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm fine. And just, my mouth isn't working. I'm on all these different dimensions. So, and that hearing my mouth go blah, blah, blah made me laugh even more. So all I could do was just giggle like a madman, and they would just laugh more. And they were playing music and strumming, and it just brought me on. It was just amazingly epic, amazing. And so I'm not wearing off until like 6 or 7 the next morning. I'm tripping and having this magical, mystical tale, and travels through the universe for 12 hours. And the next day, I'm able to tell people, I heard everything you were saying. I just couldn't communicate with you. Like I was here in the room, and I could tell that you guys were eating and playing music, and the music would just send me somewhere. It was just amazing. The shaman told me in 14 years of leading ceremonies, she'd never seen someone have such a positive first experience. So I was like, well, great. Like, I'm not going to chase this. So I've never felt the need to do it again. I was just like, it was magic. But the thing that stays with me is this, again, the talk of multidimensionality. I really was conscious of our own multidimensionality and the connection to all. And again, one cat came by me, and I immediately felt and saw every cat that was ever in my life. And the same with a dog. And I really could say the same with people. And I felt the history of the planet embedded into me. And there's one mind, God's mind, and we're all part of it. We can tap into it. We can take from it. We can give to it. And it really was just one of the most mystical experiences I can even imagine having.
So how do you feel that changed, like moving forward in your life, where it's a part of your life today?
Really, like, it's like I've lived the truth of we have infinite possibilities.
Hmm.
There is no limit. Like, and whatever circumstance, like allowing you to meditation, allowing you to be a witness of your thoughts.
Yes.
I was able to witness all that is.
Yeah.
That's what it came back with. And then that power, like I could zoom out that much and then zoom right into like, oh, here's the dog I lost when I was 13 years old. And whoo, here's the history of the world. And it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So it really is our focus. Our perception creates our reality. Like, here's everything that's possible. And right, well, what are you thinking and looking at? There's more to, if you don't like what you're looking at and thinking about, you can make new choices and create an entire different reality.
Yeah. And what a beautiful way of having this knowledge, to know this and then to put it into our work and giving back with this knowledge to help uplift another through our personal experiences, right? I've always heard it, and I was always curious about it. Never knew anyone who took it or who had it. So,
and it's not always like, I had a great experience. I'm glad I did it. It's not something I would really recommend or say, go chasing. I know people that have taken trips to Peru, done it like 5 times in a week. There's this whole like tourist industry around this.
Yeah.
And they said, they didn't have a good experience. So,
well, that's,
you got to, so yeah, if you do it, like follow the diet, be strict, it matters. And do lots of work. If I'm sure you can have an unpleasant experience if you haven't done anything about yourself and just jump into that.
Yeah. And then we move on to Akashic Records and what he is doing and giving back today in the one of the many things he is doing and giving back today in the way that he is. So Akashic Records, for the person who has heard it before and they have no idea, what is it?
So Akasha is a Sanskrit word for primary substance. It's a vibrational recording of your soul's entire journey. Every person has it. It's kind of the Library of Congress for Jeff. It's, be able to Google everything you've ever thought, experienced, and it's always being written. It's really alive and dynamic, and it's maintained by different beings of light that are some exist just in the records, but opening a records where everything you've ever done is contained allows you to have validation and insight and healing. And when I open someone's records, I open my own records to ask questions. I open the records for clients and they get to ask questions. And it's this channeled experience. It's this collective unconsciousness. It's angels, it's guides, it's beings of light, very supportive, passing on, answering questions. And often the records will ask you questions. If someone's like, I'm not sure what to ask, it's a dialogue. And more important, the words is the energy is contained in the words, going back and forth. Again, healing, insights, validation. If everyone working the records and someone like it doesn't resonate, then something's really wrong because it's reflecting your truth. And it might be like things you wished or never spoke out loud, and the record's saying, "Oh, here's what you need to do. Here's what you love to do." And like, "Oh, it is," but I ignore that. Oh, wow. So that's it's validating and freeing. It's not as if it's not a fortune-telling device. It's not like that because you always have free will. So you do come into this world with some agreements, but since you always have free will, the records are not judging you, right? It's just a place of support. And when someone asks questions about their future, it usually is best by, here are these 4 things I could choose from. One of them at least usually has a lot more light and a lot more energy behind it. And the records are like excited. Often there's like, I end up on my toes at that time. And the energy of people applauding what you're up to, it just vibrates through me. And reading the records it's really one of my favorite things to do. I have been sick and I've been in bad moods and I open someone's records and it's just, I just am in the vibration of love. And I love it.
No, anytime. I know when we're working through our true self and we're doing this work, and it's the vibration that's moving through us, and we just feel so much love, joy, and happiness that this is where we choose and want to live. Why live in those? We've had such extremes of living in the lower part, and now we're up here living in the higher part, and it's like, okay, I do not want to go back down to that lower part. So we do the work that keeps us in this place. So how did that fall in your lap to even want to take this?
So I had heard of the Akashic Records for a long time. I don't know if it just because as a kid, I was like Bigfoot and UFOs and mysticism and, watching shows. So I at least heard it as a thing. And And Edgar Cayce is probably the most well-known person to you. He was known as the sleeping prophet. And like in the 20s and 30s, he would go into deep meditations and sleep and kind of dictate things he got from the records. And the records have always been around. That used to take like weeks of fasting and almost like ayahuasca experiences to get your consciousness up enough. Today, enough of humanity has a high level of consciousness that anyone can access the records. It doesn't. I access via prayer that takes maybe 40 seconds, but I feel the difference in the vibration there. My energy coaching program, the final ceremony of that, after a year of working on myself, was opening our own Akashic records, asking the record keepers to throw away every lesson we've learned and could file instead of reliving it. And I had a really physical experiences. I felt like something was over my shoulder and like upgrading my operating system. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, all right, I need to do this again. Like, what is happening? Yeah. I always trust my experience. So I had a very visceral experience with the records. And a few years later, I was teaching workshop on using the energy tools that I'd learned and connecting with that divine light. And the next day, someone was there teaching how to read the Akashic records. I was like, oh my God, all right, I'm staying. And the first time I opened my records, I got a really like, well, hello again. I'm like, welcome back. You've been here often, you just didn't know it. So that's why I like, and I think a lot of psychics and mediums and spiritual people, you drift into your own records, but you don't know it. So why I like about this, with this process, I know I'm in the records and I know when I'm not. And I know what to trust and I know where this is coming from. And it's just, my records, I asked, what's the best way to make me, how do I lock this in? And my records told me 30 sessions in 30 days with at least 30 different people. This will prove to you that this is real. And I ended up doing 45 sessions in that first month. And by the 7th one, I was like, yeah, I don't need any more convincing. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. And just, strangers. And it was all, strangers and other teachers. I don't know how it happened. Other teachers were hearing about me. So people that worked in the records and taught people how to read from Mexico and from Ghana were contacting me during that month. And they wouldn't tell me this after the fact. Like you are really solidly connected. I'm like, oh, great. Thanks. I don't have anything to compare it to of like not being well connected or anything, but yeah, people were seeking me out. And so again, the records are just one of my favorite things. And anyone can learn to access them. Some people are just more naturally inclined to open only their own records. Others are best at opening other people's records. But yeah.
So you took a program for that to learn?
Yeah, there's lots of classes. So I learned I used the Pathway Prayer Process. It was created by Linda Howe, and her book is, strategically titled "How to Read the Akashic Records." It's available on Amazon, available everywhere. Yeah. I learned at a live workshop. So it depends on your learning style. The book tells you everything you need to know, but the live experience, you immediately are partnered with people. So you get validation like, wow, what you're saying, Jeff, that's true. Yes, that means something to me. When you're alone reading the book, you miss out on that. Yeah. So I met a lot of people that read the book and go, it doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, you just need that. You need that validation, you need the experience. Yeah. But there are multiple teachers all around the world that, teach it in a weekend, and you have an experience and you're connected, you're immediately put to work. And that's just the only warning. That's just the downside of just reading a book is you miss that experiential part.
Yeah. That's probably something now I'm going to put on my little bucket list here to do this year is to take a program like that, because I'm all about learning and growing.
There are online versions now too. Thanks to the pandemic, it doesn't have to be in person. You can get in Zoom and practice with people and learn. So
So now Andy's going to do this with me, with my Akashic record. Now you said it differently. I always thought it was Akashic. It's Akashic.
Akashic. That's why you can't say it wrong. Just like you can't ask a wrong question. It's all good.
Yeah. So he's going to perform it with me now, so you guys have an idea. And I'm very open and honest, so it doesn't matter with what comes up. I don't care. I share about everything about my life, so nothing bothers me, because I want to give back for the viewers who are watching to understand what it is that, with this work that you're doing. So if they want to reach out to you and have this done with them, I will have all the details about Andy in the description after. So if you want to take away.
And I access the records via prayer. Part of the prayer is out loud. Part of it is silent. So when I'm quiet, Jeffrey, you don't need to do anything. Just being prepared. I'll make it clear when it's time to start asking questions. And there's a really short prayer just to close out the space when we're done.
Okay.
And all I need from anybody is their full legal name and permission. Don't yeah, don't do this with anyone's. Don't do it without permission. It's not a good thing. You can find yourself. Yeah, I don't want to say anything else.
Yeah.
All right. You know what I mean.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God, help me to know Jeffrey in the light of the Akashic Records, to see Jeffrey through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Jeffrey have for him. The records are now open. What would you like to ask?
More about, I guess, my the unfolding of things that are to come on my path is for me to really invest my time in on my purpose on giving back.
Your unfolding analogy is ideal. The imagery for Andy as he opened your records, it was the unfolding of Pegasus's wings, and there is no limit to the extent of that unfolding. Your connection to the divine is meant to keep deepening and deepening, and that with that massive wingspan, it's meant to encompass and hold and bring more and more people in. Your best path of discovery is what brings you the most delight. You're naturally drawn to your next step. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I should think. It's not about thinking harder. It really is just trusting. You're just going to fall into it. Everything's going to seem to just appear in your lap when it's the time to do it and to take actions on it. But yeah, the invitation for you this lifetime is about taking it all in. Again, like this massive wingspan, these huge Pegasus wings, these huge angelic arms of yours are meant to just go wider and wider and take and receive so that you can hug more souls, more bodies, more of humanity into that. It's this, at the same time, you're a leader, you're at the forefront, and at the same time, you're a teacher. So you can just be a millisecond ahead of those you're serving. Like that's how real time you're really at the leading edge of everything you're discovering is to be shared. As soon as you grasp it, you're sharing it. You're making it part of your routine. You're making it part of how you help and serve people. And there's no end. Right? This is infinite. So there's not a time like, all right, I think I'm done. Yeah, no. and there may be times where you'll wish you were done. So it's important to, again, realize that though you are these infinite angelic wings of spiritual power and you are supported, you are still a physical body. So the only warning around this is, don't deny your physicality. So there'll be times like, I just need to rest, right? I need water, I need food. I'm called to something, but my physical body has needs too. So that's really the only warning about this journey. What else would you like to ask?
About something I think a lot of people ask within themselves is trying to understand the blockages within them to overcome them on the struggles and challenges we face on our path. It's bringing that to the forefront on any information that can help me to overcome those struggles and challenges, to give me more tools and knowledge that I don't have in assisting me to be staying on that highest path in my life.
Use the tools you do have. It's weird. It's almost like the more you try to like, what potholes in front of me, the bigger you'll make it. So it's really just trusting the flow. You will discover new things as you need them. It's really like a learn as you grow, a pay as you grow. It's don't anticipate, oh, I got this weird sense of vaguely something that's going to throw me off kilter. Like wait till it has to be dealt with. Because by the time it has to be dealt with, it can be very transmuted and already much smaller. It's like, it feels like you're like, look at that, look at that hurdle way over there. Oh goodness, should I be concerned about that? It's like, no, let it show up and realize, oh, it's just this, I have to avoid this thumbtack on the floor. That's all it is, right?
So
with that, is there something specific that you're concerned is a block right now?
There's no real blocks right in front of me. It's me, I guess, wanting to be more ahead and I'm not there. So it's that realization of what you said. It's more not focusing on what is not before me now. And when it does come before me, focus on it then.
Yeah. Be where you are.
Be where I am.
Yeah. Really. Allow those wings. You're being present and grounded. Don't try to take the step that's 5 steps away, because that can lead to a stumble unnecessarily. And then you haven't hit a pothole. You didn't hit a hurdle. No, you were not present. You were attempting to live. Just as you just need to be milliseconds ahead of the people that you serve, support, teach, and train. If your attention is milliseconds ahead of you, you're missing the moment. Right? And again, in any given moment, you are Pegasus rising. You are divine wings and arms embracing all that is. So it's almost like, and part of it is this, it can be uncomfortable to accept all of that, so that I'll focus on this thing over here that I think might be off. Right? Be willing, breathe it in, tap into your divinity, tap into your royalty, allow that to become so much of your truth that any perceived, considered the obstacle is just, it's all insignificant to the power and support that you have, that's within you, that you are. It's just gonna, you are supported. The fraction of your experiences thus far that show you your power and how much supported you are and how you're connected, it's such a small fraction. It really is. So to be concerned about, what do I do with all this? Like, oh, there's a lot more. Like, there's just a lot more. You've signed up for like a master's, a doctorate program, and you're kind of like taking the SATs right now. You're just still prepping for the bigger things, and continuing to go forward is how obstacles are removed, right? Yeah. It's when you look ahead and like, that might be a problem, but what you need to overcome anything comes in the moment that you need to overcome it. When you try to anticipate a problem, then you're weakening yourself in the present moment, and you're giving this perceived obstacle more energy. You're making it bigger. You're giving it more of your life force.
I have so much energy running through me right now. I feel very emotional, because just this morning I had mentioned to my mom on how important it is just to be so present in the moment all the time, being grateful for each moment, because things will unfold at the right time. So it was me trying to stay in this, and then just the alignment with what you're saying. Again, confirmation with how I feel. Yeah. This is a beautiful gift I'm giving back through doing this process. Yeah. And then I guess one other thing is with me, relationships. I'm not looking for it, but just seeing that on my path of unfolding for me.
It is challenging for you to be human and to have your knowledge, your knowingness. It will be challenging to be in a relationship, but there's nothing, you're not meant to not be in one, but it's going to be challenging. It's the right person someone has to be aware of themselves as much as you are, spiritual and physically. And as you're speaking about talking to your mom, you know the truth. So you're expelling it, but you're not always giving it back to yourself. So really listen, observe instead of not even listen to meditations and empty thoughts, look at the thought you're sharing and listen to your own advice, because it's true.
Yeah.
Right. So every interaction you have, everything, again, it's weird. It's these milliseconds forward and back. And then just, wait, did what I just share? Do I need to learn that right now too? That's really being present. Everything you're telling someone, you're telling yourself, you're telling all that is. So take it in, right? Let it be. Don't just be things you're talking about, be it.
Yeah. And then sometimes we get off track a little bit,
Again, you're human. You're gonna. So there's no way to grade this. This is not about ways to judge you. This is not new information to punish yourself about. It's just, did I make a block? Am I in trouble? Wait, did I just stop listening to what I know to be true? I'm all set. Right? That's all it is.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And I guess just one more question is, I guess I could focus on a different area, would be my business taking off, so I can devote my life just doing what I'm doing now, with connecting with people worldwide. How quickly on some level is that going to unfold for me, so I don't have to reach outward for other jobs like the city that I'm working with, what I'm grateful for, but just for my business taking off more.
It has the most to do with the being present, the really living and embodying what you know to be true, the advice you give others to live that. As this time span of all you know and what you do gets to be more in the moment, that's when that alignment goes through all aspects of your life, right? So it doesn't feel like, is there a conventional concrete action? Yeah, it's not about, oh, it's this class, it's this program. It's not, you don't have the right web page. It's not about that. It's much more your alignment, and it's your alignment in each moment of creation. So if you're like, I'm going to launch this program, oh, I'm worried it's not going to work. Oh, you've just thrown yourself out of alignment just a little enough,
Roadblock.
so that's going to be a little more difficult than it is, right? Perceive with the utmost confidence in all that you do. You know, expect the results, know the results, create the results you want. And again, and man, buy some wings. Have some physical reminder of this, because it's just massive. Own that. The more you can recognize and really own that you're human and you're spiritual, that you have a big mission, but your support, the energy behind you, what's uplifting you, is as big as the mission, right? You're not being sacrificed. You're not meant to live a life of solitude. You're not meant to be destitute. The more in alignment you are in any given moment, the more all the abundance you are. You have this abundance of spirituality, of an abundance of life force, and it's aligning that with more of the physical. Does that make sense?
Yes, being present in the moment, trusting the process. Law of attraction. It's trusting in positive vibes that things are being manifested and things are being placed, and trusting and believing in that in my life.
And we would phrase it for you, law of alignment.
Law of alignment.
And just ask her, am I in alignment? Before I do this, before I send this email, before I speak, am I in alignment? And asking will allow it to be, right? Asking for that support, connecting, not just making it's about me and I must struggle, I must punch my way through this. It's like, wait a minute, am I in alignment? Right?
I haven't heard that one before.
Your alignment wants to be. So you're just asking, you're really just saying, am I me? Am I reading it right now?
Yeah. And you can feel it. You can feel the alignment, right? It's always trusting. I say it all the time to people, trust with how you feel. Yeah. Right. You're
so listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Trust what you tell people, right? Be a people when you're on the receiving end.
Yeah. And that's so hard sometimes for us on our human experience here.
And again, that's why this advice, this insight, this input is not meant to be as a tool to bludgeon yourself ever. It's about how to easily be in alignment. It's about more of your awakening. It's about realizing where they're just still misperceptions and momentary lapses, and that's all. And as you clean that sort of stuff up, everything you want must become solidified. Everything you want must manifest. That's how everything works.
Yes. I appreciate the opening of my records today and the answers that were given to me. They have helped me tremendously with the alignment in my life. So thank you.
Is there anything else that Jeffrey needs to hear at this time? Yeah. Infinite possibilities, infinite support. You cannot think of something. You will not be drawn to something that you cannot do. That's in a universe of infinite possibilities, the one impossibility is that you be drawn to something that you're not capable of doing. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Trusting in source energy.
Awesome. All right. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records now closed. Amen. The records now closed. Amen. The record's now closed. Amen. Man.
That was amazing.
You are jeeped up. I wish I could somehow take pictures of the visuals, because look for imagery or look for something that resonates with you. Just the biggest white angelic Pegasus wings are just what I felt starting it, and it was the biggest visual. So see if things like that speak to you. You want to make a board, make a poster or a statue. Just see, be open to that.
That was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Because, when we connect as we all have the gifts within us, we all have the abilities within us. And when we connect, it's always to help us in healing in some way, in some form. It's coming from a high frequency of love and light to help us on our path, because we know the human experience is not an easy experience for what we go through at times in our lives. And then when we have beautiful people like Andy Grant, who is doing this form of work with me today, again, see, I already said earlier, with my mom, I already talked to her about it. And then you bringing that up to me, it's already what I just told my mom this morning. And energy went rushing through me where I felt emotional, because it is that highness of frequency that vibrated through me at such a fast rate that it gives off this feeling of love, right? And it's so powerful when you're doing this work and connecting with people. It's such a beautiful experience, because now I have confirmation even more within me. It's like you just gave me more foundation in my life to build underneath me, to be even sturdier as I move forward in my life. And that is the experience that I got with you today. So I am truly grateful for you to do that with me today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Like, again, the love you receive, like, I feel that love every time I do those records. It's just nothing but support. It's like, ooh, I'm all jazzed up now, and I forget, like, it's really a channeling experience for me. If I might forget we even did this by tomorrow, and people will sometimes email me, hey, when you said this, what did you mean? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then, before when you're doing these sessions, do you get all giddy and happy when you're going to do this for someone? Like, what do you feel before you go into it when someone reaches out to you?
So it's always, so during the prayer, that's when I begin really, like, I halfway through the prayer, I felt wings expand out my back. I was like, oh boy, this is a big one. Other times when someone books something, I'll already know, oh, they're all about relationships. Oh, they're dealing with some health things. So the more work I do on myself, the more things I do with the mystery school, the more healings, the more powerful the records are. The more powerful the records are for me, the more psychic I am, kind of out of them and stuff. So there's a knowing, but again, I like as a tool, because here we go. This isn't just what I think. This isn't me tapping into something else. This is your records. These are your guides gathered to give you input, right?
Yeah.
So, and we talked earlier, like, I love when strangers do this, because I have no attachment. I'm just like, yeah, you're supposed to play with polar bears. I don't know what that means, but I'm just throwing it out there. It's what the records tell me. And they're like, oh yes, I have a job in here with the zoo tomorrow. I'm all excited about it. Like, you just don't know. So I love not knowing. I love having no idea what questions might be asked. Yeah. But the records are always supportive, and usually it's laughter and it's light. But sometimes there have been a few occasions where people get they need like a stern talking to, and it's much more serious. And for people that have, they've known what they're supposed to be doing for a long time, and they keep refusing to do so. The records, again, it's always supportive, but they're not always just a bundle of light and joy, I'll say.
Well, sometimes we need that in our life. Yeah. Sometimes even though we can feel the truth within us, we need to be hit with us right in front of us to be like, no, now is the time for you to face the things you need to, because they know the frequency of light that's going to start flowing through you. You're going to rise up even higher, and there's going to be more love, joy, and happiness in your life when we do the work. Right?
Yeah. Life is meant to be joyous.
Yes.
And that's something that, depending on your upbringing, you were taught opposite that, or you've seen people experience different than that. But from our willingness to embrace, to realize we're more than our circumstances, to take action, to take responsibility, the opportunity for joy is everywhere.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's always a pleasure. I was telling Andy right before, I don't know if I said it in the video or not, but when I think of the name Andy Grant, I have this warm feeling of a smile within me because of the work that he is doing, giving back in his life today. And, it is so beautiful to have people out there in the world who are wanting to give back. And, I want to say thank you personally for the work that you're doing. I actually feel a lot of emotions right now because it is truly life-changing for people's lives. And we need more people and exposing more people who are doing this work. And that's why I love what I've started with the show, is to expose more people who are out there that are making a difference and putting themselves out there so people can start living with more love, joy, and happiness, raising that frequency of energy that lives within us. And thank you so much, Andy, for coming on today.
Yeah, really my pleasure. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yes, and thank you for the people who came on today, or people who are watching the replay. You can still leave comments, and if you know someone who might be interested, please share this video with them. It is here to help uplift people who are seeking these type of services to help them in their life today. And until next time, I will have another show. I believe next week will be my next one, as long as that follows through. I look forward to seeing each of you again next time.